Hi guys, and welcome to lesson 4 in this 4th module. Now we've just shown you how to go out finding your list of cold audience targeting options, and hopefully you've got a whole nice list now of say 15 to 20 options that you may want to advertise to. Now what we want to do is we want to narrow that down to about 3. When we first launch campaign, I said the full sales funnel structure is going to be demonstrated later modules, but when we first launch campaign, we're usually going to have say 5 ad sets in it. And we're often going to have, this is in a direct to offer, a lead magnet and webinar campaign, by the way, not an online business content campaign, which is a complete different structure, which again, will be covered separately. But a lead magnet or webinar campaign or a direct to offer campaign, we're going to have 5 ad sets. One of those is going to be a warm audience ad set. And then the other 4 are going to be cold audiences. Now that's going to be a mixture of lookalike audiences, which we're going to talk about in future lessons, and these cold audience targeting options. So at this point, you want to come up with about 3. Now what we're going to do is we're going to base this off of audience size, right? And relevance, of course, but based off audience size. So take your list of say 20 and sort of, you don't have to officially rank them all, but go with the ones that you think are most relevant. Out of those lists, there's going to be some where you're like, yeah, this is kind of relevant, and some where you're like, that is dead on my target audience, right? Start with the ones that are dead on and then work your way through. So what you want to do is you want to make sure you remove the detailed targeting expansion section. And that's going to show you what your potential reach is over here on the right-hand side under audience definition. Now, what we are looking for, ideally, is a minimum of 250,000 and roughly a maximum of 5% of the population within that targeting area. And when I say population, I mean the population of Facebook and Instagram users. So how do we assess that? Let me just turn this up. Right, so our potential reach in the UK is 51 million people. So 5% of that is 2.5 million, okay? So our target range in the UK, if we're advertising to the whole of the UK, for audience size is going to be 250,000 to 2.5 million. Pretty big range there, okay? And by the way, if you go above the 2.5 million a bit, that's fine. I'm much more concerned with you not being beneath the minimum than I am with you being over the maximum. If we found a great target audience option that was 3.5 million, we're going to advertise to it. That's not a problem at all. But remember, we want 1 audience targeting option per ad set. So 1 option needs to get there. So we just saw, right, that when we added in dress shoe, there we go. And I said you need to get rid of detailed targeting expansion to be able to see this. That's 96,000. That's smaller than I would like to advertise to. Okay. Now, let's have a look at some of the other options. So if we go with bespoke shoes and we get rid of dress shoe, that's also coming in at 41,000. Okay, smaller than we'd like. And what were some of the other options we found? Let's go with women's shoes. And you might find this, by the way, guys, a whole bunch of options that are just too small. 120,000, still smaller than I would like it to be, okay? What were some of the other options we had? Let's go with some of the brands, maybe. Clark shoes. Let's get rid of women's shoes. 660,000. Now, if your shoes that you're selling were similar to Clark shoes, perfect. That's dead in our audience range. Right, there we go. There's 1. And this is why you're starting with the ones that you sort of intuitively think are dead on your target market more, because you're going to start with those and then you're going to look to sort of narrow it down further and further. You know, you go down the list, right? If the ones that are dead on your target market are the right size, great, you've got 1. And we're looking for about 3 at this point, okay? So in this case, it could be that Clark shoes was a great option. And we go through the rest of the list. I'd be interested to see what shoes just in general is. Okay, 25 million. So that's a good example. That's too large an audience size there. That's half the people in the UK. Too much, right? That's narrowing it down to hardly anyone, okay? So, but we do have Clark shoes, and you go through that process through your whole list and you will at least find 3 that are dead on in your targeting range. By the way, guys, when you're adding in these detailed targeting options, I haven't got it in here because it's for demonstration purposes, but you would absolutely want to make sure that you had the right, age parameters, whatever they happen to be for your business, added in here. Because it's this audience size is going to take into account this detailed targeting option and these criteria in here. So that would still be, like, let's say we wanted to advertise to 25 to 55. I mean, with shoes, you probably wouldn't. You'd probably have it 18 to 65 anyway. But just as an example, we're still absolutely fine with the audience size, right? Okay. And that's how you go about finding your options. You should have at least 3 once you've gone through your list, absolutely fine. One thing I want to mention about potential reach is how you're affected by local targeting. So if I was just advertising to a specific town, the whole population might be, 100,000 people in that town. In which case you're not going to be able to do the 250,000 minimum, and that's absolutely fine. There's another video about how you adjust things for local targeting businesses, but I just wanted to quickly mention that now in case you're going, hang on, I only advertise locally, I can't make that work, how do I advertise just 250,000? That's not a problem. But if you're advertising nationally or internationally, at least 250,000 people, up to 5% of the total population. Now, by the way, that 5% might be really massive. So let's go ahead and make a few adjustments. So, remember when I said that we might advertise to, say, the UK, US, let's go Canada, and let's add in Australia, which a lot of businesses will advertise to. Okay, so it's going to be 5%. The maximum size now is 5% of the total Facebook and Instagram users in this, in these combined locations. So let's get rid of that, and let's go with 18 to 65 plus, because that's most likely what we would advertise for shoes. I said you want to be on the broader side of things when it comes to. So there's 360 million people, okay, that are on Facebook and Instagram across these 4 countries. So 5% of that is 18 million. So our maximum audience size for this targeting setup is going to be 18 million. So you can start to see how that's massive, right? That's really quite big. And that gives you a lot of leeway. If we were to add in some of the other detailed targeting options now, like dress shoe, we might even get there. Let's have a look. Yep, almost 1 million people. Perfect. We can now advertise this because we're advertising to a much larger geographical area. Something to be aware of. And if we go for the Clark shoes option that we had before, 1.8 million. Fantastic. Well within the range. Okay? As I said, the minimum is much more important that you're over that than you are worrying about being below the maximum. Facebook ad campaigns perform better with larger audiences in general, okay? And if you do, by the way, have larger search terms, like shoes was too big, it was 25 million, but if you did want to throw in one much larger one, like let's say, for example, if we go back to just the UK, and go back to just the UK, and we had seen that shoes, instead of being 25 million, was say 5 million, that might be something that we'd look to test. If in doubt, it didn't come up for some reason, there we go. If in doubt, you can always test. Okay, so hopefully now you've not only got your larger list, and you can reference those in future, because that larger list was not a waste of time, because let's say you've got your 3 you want to test now, well, once you've tested those, you'll want to test other ones, so you can go your way down the list. Out of those 15 to 20 that you gathered, find 3 or 4 that you think are really the most relevant within that 20, and that are the right audience size. 250,000 minimum, up to 5% of the Facebook and Instagram users in the target area where you're advertising. Local businesses, it's a different setup, but I'm going to explain more about that in a minute. Okay, hopefully that's useful. Right, now we're going to get on to talk about custom audiences, because I've already mentioned every Facebook ad campaign that we run or every sales funnel we put together is going to have custom audiences. Very important, very exciting topic. So I'll see you in the next lesson.